AskReddit by no was expected. What are you the 1% of? I am the 7th generation in my family with the same name. At the end of my name I legally have a VI. Every generation of my family going back to the 1700s has only one male and amp. We all have the same name. According to my smartwatch I'm in the top 1% of step count in the past 7 days. Wild and also boring. I figured I have to be in the top 1% of deaf guitar players worldwide. I heard completely fine for like 25 years and spent 19 years of that to practice guitar playing. Been legally deaf for 3 years now and still can play well. Muscle memory. I kinda want to start a band called death metal or something. You have to watch The Sound of Metal. It is a movie about a drummer who starts to lose his hearing. Actually a great movie on its own right, but you would get it more than most would. Probably less than 1%, but I'm sucrose and fructose intolerant. No fruit, candy, ice cream, even some veggies for me. Now that is very rare. Got my wisdom teeth pulled. One side grew back over a year from a fragment left. Dentist published an article about it and was so happy. I was not with another oral surgery. My mom had her wisdom teeth pulled out, and they all grew back again. Dentist never seen anything like it lol. I have small intestinal cancer. The type is the same as colon cancer, but where it's located is less than 1% of worldwide diagnosis per year. But I've signed papers for 11 different oncologists to be able to access my records to see what works, what doesn't, etc. because they just don't get enough examples of it. Kind of hit or miss on procedures to work with, which treatments first, which type of chemo, etc. I've also said that if it ever reaches a point where I am terminal and common treatments just don't work anymore, I'm willing to go all guinea pig. Depending on exactly where it is, because of the veins coming off of your mesenteric artery to feed the small intestine, it usually isn't operable. So you are strictly on chemo and radiation. If the heavy levels don't do it, then you get to go on low dose chemo daily for however long it works. Then it eventually doesn't. Currently, according to my last PET scan, the tumors have disappeared. They won't say remission, just that it seems to be dormant right now. I'll take it. Thank you for wanting to go all guinea pig. I hope for your sake you don't get to do that anytime soon. I am a pilot. In the USA about 0.01% of the population has a pilot's license. I am also an amputee, which in the USA is about 1% of the population. Not sure what percent of the populace are amputee pilots, but it's got to be pretty small. Deleted. Me, too. I always joke that I was manufactured. We still keep in contact with the doctors that made us. The original founders of the process were the ones who made my siblings. Alpha-gal allergy. I was bitten by a Lone Star tick and now I'm allergic to any kind of mammal meat. Most cases last between 6 to 8 months. Mine appears to be permanent after a decade. I can't even eat something that's been prepped cooked on the same surface as beef or pork in restaurants. Wait, staff isn't too fond of me lol. My mom has this. She got it in the 1980s and her doctor insisted she was crazy because nobody's allergic to meat. When the alpha-gal research hit a few years back, she felt so vindicated. I'm in the 1% for people with narcolepsy. I believe it's 0.05% of America and 0.04% for the world. I have narcolepsy too. I am constantly disappointing people by not randomly falling asleep like in the movies though. My daughter was the first in Canada to have her cord blood harvested for stem cells. They were to be used for a bone marrow transplant for her brother. As a side note, my son was diagnosed with what was then called JCML. A child leukemia occurring in about 0.001% of all childhood leukemias. The survival rate I believe was in the 1 percentile range. This is fascinating. I hope everyone was okay. I am allergic to temperature extremes. Taking a hot shower or touching an ice cube will give me hives. I have cholinergic urticaria, so anytime my body temp goes up I break out in hives. Room temp showers for me. I can spin on my ass really fast, like probably around 20 full rotations in one go. I start standing up, then I put my left hand on the ground and I throw my right leg towards my left. Finally I retract my legs and put my hands on my knees and I go spinning like a motherfucking Beyblade. I've been doing this since I was 3 or 4. Yo, I thought that said you spin your ass and I was horrified at the image of someone fucking helicopter twerking. Type 1 diabetes. It's a shit club. We can't even have cookies unless everyone brought their insulin. There are 0 benefits in this club. Not that I've looked it up, but I've run over a fish in my car. Whenever I tell the story, no one has heard anything like it. I've seen a video of salmon trying to swim over a partially flooded road. Was it like that? I can swallow my tongue. Or rather put my whole tongue in the hole to my nose, where the nose and mouth come together. Apparently my ear doctor said that none of her colleagues believed her when she said she had a patient that could do that, so I had to do it while she was filming, so she could prove them wrong. Real question, I immediately think about the tongue getting stuck and choking. Is this a fear of yours when you stick your tongue all the way back? I have ab blood, which is found in less than 1% of the population. Came here for this. My sister and I both have ab, plus she is a blue-eyed red-haired girl, which makes her even more unique. I guess I'm in the 1% of only having 3 lower front teeth. OMG, me too. I had no idea this was a thing. I just thought I was one weirdo. Did yours move to the center? Do your dentists also play a guessing game to figure out which one is missing? I'm so fascinated. I have an autoimmune disease that's so rare nobody knows what it is. Genetic testing is currently underway to see if I have a recently discovered genetic defect that about 10 people have been diagnosed with. Edit. I appreciate all the people attempting to give me a diagnosis in the comments, but I think 6 years and more specialists than I can count on one hand might know a little more about what's going on than some strangers on the internet. Edit 2. I've got some links to some information on what I'm currently waiting to find out if I have. It's called INFLTR8, Kicker's Right, and it was named by one of the first people diagnosed with it. The study, https://bludd/article/1378/2450/182450/474744/immunodeficiency-and-bone-marrow-failure- with closed bracket and the link to a story about its discovery and naming OST %20 by %20 TLR8. I have bad news for you. You got a very rare disease. How rare? You pick the name. Spades. I am actually in the top 0.06% and used to be number 1 out of 43,000 players. So I'm like one of the top billionaires in the world but in spade skills, so that earns me about $0. I have some bridge trophies, which earned me negative money, entrance fees. Top 0.005% of Simon and Garfunkel listeners on Spotify last year. If you were in top 0.005% Garfunkel listeners, I would be more impressed. When Spotify released listening statistics at the end of 2020, I was on the top 0.1% of Weird Al Yankovic listeners. Seeing this reminds me of this guy I dated 10 years ago. He came over for a family dinner at my cabin and asked if he could play dinner music. We always had classical music playing when we had dinner there, and so my family said sure, why not, and he played Weird Al Yankovic for the whole dinner. At one point my grandpa just went, "What the fuck are we listening to?" I finished first in Tetris 99 once. Actually, That makes you the top 1.01%. I think it's like 0.10.5% of women or something, but I have a double uterus. Medically called a didelphys uterus. A septum separates my uterus, which kinda made them form into two separate ones, and the septum continues down into the vagina, so I also have a left and right side. Not fun to deal with, but I'm too scared to get the surgery for it. My daughter has this. She has something called OHVIRA syndrome, which means she's missing a kidney as well. Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games 2008 pole vault. When I was 8-11, I had the second highest score in the world. That has most likely changed. I was the world's fastest on Rainbow Road in Mario Kart Wii for like 3 days. I am in the 1% of musicians who actually made a living playing music. Notice I did not say a good living. Also didn't say good music. Have you considered trying making good music? At the end of Detroit, Become Human, they tell you the percentage of people who got the same ending as you. Mine was 1%. Did you actually become human? If you have a 7 inches, 18 centimeters, penis, you are in the top 1% of men worldwide. Keep that in mind when everyone you know, and on the internet, somehow has a 8+ in sklong. Edit. I recommend everybody take a look at the website https://calcsd.netlify.app/. I got this info from. Specifically the section titled measurement, so that you can get an accurate reading. If you think this number sounds way too short, it's probably because you're measuring wrong. Everyone is in the 1% when you measure from your taint. Bro, I was so close, fuck, I just needed another 3 inches. I'm part of the 1% of people being ambidextrous. Damn, it must be nice to not live with one arm and one golf club, as useless waste of space. Went to the optometrist recently and he said I have a uniquely shaped right cornea and said I was in the 1%. Did tests for a degenerative disease that I couldn't remember, but I'm in the clear. Some Latin sounding disease, cornose blah blah. The doctor said most people generally have half a portion of astigmatism in their eyes. My right eye has 5 portions. Keratoconus. I have it. If it gets worse, I'll need a corneal transplant. Edit. I had the intensive CXL treatment in my right eye 2 years ago. Thankfully it's been stable since, and even slightly improved, so now we just continue monitoring both eyes every 6 months. Triple nipple over here. 0.5% I believe. So you tell me everyone I meet has a 0.5% chance to have 3 nipples? Gotta go hunting. Typing speed. Edit. To save everyone the Google finding the comments. Average is around 40-50 WPM, with 100 WPM being top 1%. My 18-year-old son is the fastest typist I've ever seen. He told me he could type like 115 WPM and I called bullshit. He went to a website and showed me like twice in a row. It sounds more like raw than actual typing. I'm part of the 1 to 2% with red hair. Except in my house where I'm part of the 80%. Me and my kids are redheads, my wife is a blonde. One of my childhood best friends had red hair, and she was always picked on for it. I have never understood why, but it did happen. Do your kids have these same issues, or is hair color based bullying a thing of the past? I was born with a cardiac rhythm disorder. Normal heart rate for a newborn is like 130 per minute, mine was like 30. I heard from my mother my case was so rare that several cardiologists from all over the country ditched their conferences to fly to the hospital I was in and to see how to fit a pacemaker into a newborn. Edit. Thank you so much for the upvotes awards, you are all awesome. I'm imagining a Morpheus fighting Neo moment countrywide with cardiologists. I scored a 99 on the ASVAB, which is graded using a percentile system. I scored a 98. My recruiter asked me how I did. I told him I missed 2 questions in the fast math portion because I hit the wrong button and those sections don't do a select and confirm, just select, so I couldn't fix them. He laughed. He called me back a couple days later and said, I didn't know you meant you actually only missed 2 questions. I was a 5954 air traffic control communications technician. I apparently wasn't smart enough to ask about MOSs that would give me a signing bonus. Not anymore, but I was in the top 0.0001 for Lyme infections. 1% of deer ticks carry the bacteria and 1% of cases develop heart block and Lyme carditis. Highest student debt? $536k. Bruh, WTF you study? God. Mauritians living in the UK. We often refer ourselves as Martians. I actually met someone from Mauritius in London. I've died and had 6 wisdom teeth, and ironically those 2 things are related. For context, my heart stopped during my wisdom teeth extraction surgery. I don't remember for how long, but the anesthesiologist said he had a needle of adrenaline in his hand when my heart started beating again. I remember them waking me up and just saying, you gave us a little scare there, before putting me back under and completing the surgery. After I came to and was sitting in the waiting room, I had to text my dad, because I couldn't talk. I think I died. In which my dad obviously freaked out because they never even told him. I need more info, please. Edit. OP just had the first sentence here when I made the above comment. Deleted. Ew, that was Gangnam Style for me. I saw it with like 3k views. I'm top 1% of Google local guides in my area. That's pretty cool. I've heard the top guides get awarded some gear. Have you gotten anything for your contribution? I'm 6 feet 8 inches 203 centimeters tall. Was looking for this. I'm 6 feet 7 myself. We're definitely less than 1% of the global population. I have aphantasia. I can't form images in my mind. If I read a book, for instance, I wouldn't be able to tell you what the characters look like. My brain just doesn't work like that. I found out at 30 that other people actually visualize things in their head. I always thought it was kinda like a figure of speech or something. I think aphantasia is probably more common than we know, but it's one of those things that most people don't realize they have until they learn it's not how other people experience it, kinda like photic sneezing. Marathon runners. I guess it's a pretty low percentage of people who've ran one, but I've ran over 40 and still going strong. Targeting being close to 50 by the end of the year. How old are you? 40 marathons is a lot. I have cerebral palsy. Out of 1,000 babies born, 2-4 will have it. My brother has cerebral palsy and his brain is fucking awesome. It's the craziest thing. He was born without half his brain, and doctors didn't know if he would walk or talk. His brain rewired itself and the only symptoms he has is that the right side of his body is weaker, unable to use right hand effectively, curved spine, etc. On the developmental side he has autism, but compared to how bad it could have been, it's fascinating how quickly the brain can repair itself. My brother is an inspiration to me because he got a job before I did and he is disabled. He's in shape and loving life. I'm so happy he's here. I actually have an RTX 3080. He asked for 1%, not 0.00001%. Anyone's birthday must be under 1% of the world population. Congrats everyone. Joke's on you. Mine's the 29th of February. I win. The 1% who can beat the mobile games. Celiac disease. It's estimated that 1.0% of the population of Canada has celiac disease. Approx 1 in 114 people. It's always said to be wildly undiagnosed though, so I'm not sure if that is fully true. Grey-eyed. Always thought they were green, but then they matched exactly with most images of grey eyes.